Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get it going. Yeah, sorry for the delay. But yeah, it's always a challenge, these things, and with the live streaming too, getting that all set up. But yeah, so anyway, so I'm Paul Baylog. I've taken over, I guess, the steering committee, I guess, for about not even a year. It's been probably 6 months or so. Sabri Blackman, he was the previous CNCF ambassador, and then he actually relocated to like Washington, D.C. or something. So he's like, hey, you mind taking over this one? Because I do the St. Louis Go meetup as well. So, but yeah, and I think, John, you even mentioned something about, possibly helping out. That would be appreciated because, yeah, so definitely it's, yeah, I don't know. It's not that much, but sometimes it's just like, it's like,
And worse when you're doing it all by yourself.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
Alone?
I mean, I'm my own AV guy and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, man, I'm just supposed to be the talent, right? So it's not working out that way. But yeah, so, and yeah, with our sponsors, CNCF is actually covering the meetup fees. So, of course, we use the code of conduct from them. The facility fees are now being taken care of, and food is from Grafana Labs. So we're covering that. Yeah, yay, Grafana, and, yay, stickers. But yeah, so, and by the way, if anybody's looking for co-working space, and they want to use this place, refer us, or refer me rather, and in that way then we'll hopefully get a cut and maybe reduced fees. So unfortunately it's a little expensive, but anyway, so yeah, for so for the co-working space it's $250 a month. But you get a fancy thing like that, and even the little stringy, that you can't beat that. But yeah, and then so you get access to it 24/7, and the meeting rooms and all that. So, but anyway, it's a little pricey. But anyway,
you live here or you move to?
I didn't move to Columbia yet. That's here in April we're going to relocate, and then so yeah, which kind of brings in this. So, obviously I'm with the Go meetup, so kind of do a little partnership here, and then also Dev Como is on there, which is is a developer meetup out in Columbia. So I'll kind of get in with them, and then so they're actually reposting our events, so that way then they can be on and view the live stream and that. I'm also a Go, or I guess I don't know, do they call it a Go Bridge ambassador? I guess, yeah, for Go Bridge. So just trying to build the community out on the Go, and then part of that is the Go Developer Network. Then CIC is our friendly host here for the facilities. But yeah, so I just wanted to go through some of the things that are coming up. Yeah, Amsterdam KubeCon is coming up. They didn't accept my paper. I was, unfortunately a reject and didn't get it, but it's a good thing anyway, because that is like right in the time when I'm moving. So yeah, that probably saved my life.
I told him, that's why.
Yeah, that probably saved my life, because my partner, she would have killed me. But yeah, no. But it's something I did get accepted for in Vancouver. So I'll be at doing a lightning talk over at CDCon, GitOpsCon, which is I guess it's a co-located pre-event for Open Source Summit. Yeah. And then I'm hoping to stay there for that. We'll see. I'm not sure. Grafana's not having any sponsorship there this year, so I may not stick around for that. I'm curious to see how that is though. But yeah, and then somebody had reached out through the meetup, through the Go meetup, and then just wanted to let people know that there's a position that they have available with the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's kind of a unique opportunity. It's a junior data engineer. So I don't know how well that would fit for anyone here, but anybody maybe watching online, that would be ideal. It'd kind of be cool. Work for the Cardinals organization. But yeah, I don't know. Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up or questions before we roll into things?
I shared with a couple of people before. I guess you're the only one who didn't hear, but there's a Midwest DevOps conference
Right.
coming up next month. And they told me I code automate if you want to get $50 off registration. I didn't know it was existed. I'm not affiliated.
Yeah.
Other than they had a speaker back out, and I'm going to speak now. But it might be cool. I can maybe report back afterwards.
And it's here in St. Louis, right?
It is, yes.
Where? Which facility? Do you know? Put you on the spot here.
Yes.
It's not like in one of the casinos or something.
Right. Yeah. There you go. That'll get some big attendance.
Well, I guess that's how reInvent is every year, right? Like, so.
That's crazy huge. Have any of you been to reInvent? I mean, I was a little shocked the first time. I've only been once, but it was a little shocking at first. It was like, wow, it's so big. And then, once I adjusted to that, it was like, wow, they actually have a good handle on everything. It's pretty well.
It's at Kerr's Mill in Baldwin, Missouri. This facility out there in Baldwin, Missouri.
Oh, okay, yeah.
9:30, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
They're not actually right here in St. Louis, I guess.
Yeah, it's out in the burbs, I guess. Yeah, it's Kerr's Mill and Clayton, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you know about this?
What is this conference?
It's called Midwest DevOps. It looks
Yeah.
like it's maybe being run by an agency called Sketch Development. I'm not familiar with them, but it looks like the brand seems to be underneath of them.
Interesting. Well, cool. All right. Well, thank you. So I am the main feature presenter here today, only because nobody else had anything to bring up. So it's all right. So let me go ahead and switch over to my other slides, and then I'm gonna have to. And this is gonna. Let's see. Hopefully this goes over okay here. Let's see. And it looks like my screen switched, so we should be on. Yes. Okay. Yeah, the lag is really funny on the phone. Okay, there we go. All right. So so the disclaimer, I don't work for Tracetest. I don't work for CubeShop. I just stole the slides with permission.
So Tracetest is a company?
Yes. Yeah, and CubeShop is CubeShop is kind of like an incubator company. They're like they have like 6 or 7 different projects under them that are all like startup kind of projects. So Tracetest being one of them. They also have one called I always switch the name. It's Test Cube, and I know they have an integration with K6 as well. So I kind of know them from that. But that's actually how I got to meet these folks. Ken Hamrick is the CEO for Tracetest, and I'd met him at KubeCon, and we actually did a integration together with K6 and Tracetest, and that's like I said, I'll give a little hint on that, or a little example of that, and we'll see how this goes because. Yeah, of course, last minute, everything, it's like, oh crap, the binary wasn't working. And there was all kinds of stuff going on. So this is going to be really interesting to see if it works out. So maybe it is good that it's not a huge crowd. So again, I did steal these slides and kind of massage them a little bit. So trace-based testing. So they do all this stuff is based off of observability data. And then now the last couple talks that we've had here, we've been talking pretty much about all observability. We've kind of been in that, not a rut, but we've been kind of stuck on that. So hopefully we can get into some other things too for the CNCF. The landscape is broad and wide, but So Tracetest, they're full MIT license, so they're fully open source. You can run it inside of Docker or Kubernetes. They have the user interface and the command line option. And then, you can use any observability backend. So there's Grafana Tempo, there's Jaeger, and then I think Honeycomb, you could even I think they probably have, I think as long as you use the OpenTelemetry. APIs, you're good and covered. But yeah, and then I don't know, does everybody know what tracing is, even the distributed tracing? So basically you would put code in, well, it doesn't have to be actually in your code in all cases, but usually you add some code into your code, which is going to send off information about where the path of execution through, microservices and that. So like a service A would, like how it shows up here in this trace is that the service A, this might be one call to say, I don't know, maybe add something to a shopping cart. Well, the service B here might be checking inventory. C might be a database call. D might be a Kafka message or a Pulsar message, whatever. So you can chain these all together with trace IDs and spans. So and if you look at that overall, you see the full path going through a really complex system. So all these different microservices. So, without having to sit there and try to tail logs and try to figure things out, you can, in one view, you can see all that. Now, yeah, the testing pyramid here is, your standard stuff. The unit testing being done by developers typically at coding time. The integration is just, as it sounds, when you're going into the full bigger system overall, and end-to-end is the E2E there. Now, different ways that you can do the integration testing, black box testing, obviously, where you don't know what's happening inside. You just know you put an input, you get an output. You don't really know what's happening inside. That could be going to, 10 different microservices, a single call, but you don't really know. With testing those too, you can do the mocks, but that's difficult because you got to set all that stuff up and then maintain it. And then it's not really real, right? Because you're mocking up responses. So it's not the actual response that, if the service gets changed, whatnot. With the end-to-end test, you have to instrument everything again. It's lots of code. You have to know the system, just lots of work. And then, of course, now with the trace-based testing, if you have already your observability platform set up, it makes it really easy because you already have that data there. And a lot of times you're going to have that because you want to know, already anyway, what the CPU activity is on all your machines, what kind of request rates are coming in. So that's where with Tracetest, we can kind of overlay that integration piece and then bring in these trace tests, the trace-based tests. Now with Tracetest, this is kind of how it works here. So over here, the upper left, this is going to be your actual system under test. This is the, whatever you're wanting to verify. And then down here, you're going to have your different backends for your observability, that you're going to have Grafana dashboards looking at the data, whatnot. So that's going to be happening anyway. You want that regardless, And then with the trace test, that's going to be coming in here as the test executor. So that's going to trigger events that are going to go and hit your actual system and cause those trace data to be stored. And then it's going to go ahead and it's going to actually query the trace data from the telemetry data, and then it's going to bring that all in and apply assertions that you can do in Tracetest to say that 90% of all my calls have to be under 300 milliseconds or things like that. And if it goes beyond that, 95% or over or whatever, it'll you can trigger failures, and then that's what'll come out in your test results. So case 6. So yeah, so that's just the basic trace test. Mm-hmm.
So can I?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So the previous slide you had, so this is essentially the end-to-end testing, post,
Yeah, it'll be the whole system. Yeah.
And you're sending some synthetic, transactions and then getting the traces for those synthetic transactions, and based on that, you are expecting, you're like asserting if it has to come back within a certain
Mhm.
SLA or something.
Right. Yeah. So it'll let you know if you're out of spec. It's not going to stop things, right? But it's already happened. But it'll let you know that, oh yeah, something's wrong, something's out of spec. You need to fix something possibly, or adjust something.
So the SLO, SLI, all of that stuff is what it's actually. Those are the metrics it's really looking for, because the rest of the stuff is, it's all synthetic anyways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just looking at the regular observability data that's already out there, all your trace data that your system's going to be putting out there anyway. So yeah, so they're just basically querying all that and then looking at the details of each of those and comparing it to a specification that you'll create inside of Tracetest. And then that's where you'll say, okay, my assertions are this. They don't have anything, as far as I know. Like I said, I don't work for them. I get the disclaimer there. But there's nothing like to create alerts like, you would do in like Prometheus or something. You would create alerts to say that, okay, yeah, if it starts going over this threshold, we're going to start kicking out alerts. It's not doing any of that. This is strictly more upfront. So this is, you'll see in the, one of the taglines is that they're trying to bring along is a observability driven design. So basically start looking at that, incorporating those traces into your design as you're building. So that way then, before you actually go to prod, you already see how it's interacting in a full system.
Yeah. So does the test executor, does it have some knobs to do the load? Because based on that, you will have.
That's where the actual K6 integration comes in. Yeah, so K6 being a load testing tool primarily can now utilize the trace-based testing. So what we'll do is we'll have you create a specification inside of Tracetest, and then you'll reference that and then give trace IDs from K6. So K6 will actually be the thing that starts your trace. So in other words, it's going to generate a trace ID, put that onto your request headers, and then that's going to kind of start the whole chain. And then it's going to actually tie it to a Tracetest specification. So then that way then Tracetest can look at the overall and compare it to the assertions that it needs to make. So yeah, so you can generate big load with K6.
So the K6 is going to be the initiator of the request.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, not in all cases, but with the case where you use the integration, yeah. So that's just one of the many, many ways you can do it. Yeah, and like I said, that's where I kind of got wind of this project more so was with that, and then it is pretty cool, and I will show a little bit on that. So, but yeah, so now this is just a little setup for the demo. Because what they have is they have this this PokeShop as a demo microservice setup. It's all instrumented with OpenTelemetry, so that way then we have a working system that we can play around with locally. And one of the things is you can go through a REST API, which will import an ID for a Pokemon. And it'll go through the database, and it does go through a system where here it'll go through a RabbitMQ, so that way then it's a bit async, because normally if you were just testing the front end, you're always going to get a success as long as that message goes into the async queue, right? So you're not going to know if there's a downstream failure, and that's where this with Tracetest, you can break something downstream and it'll get caught as long as you have assertions there. And then that way then you can see it holistically. So that leads into the demo. All right, so now again, this is...
So the K6 is essentially like a REST client, right? That is.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that. It's, you'll have a, let's see. So here, what I did, this is actually a K6. Oops, let me make sure that, yep. Let's see. Hopefully that's large enough for everyone online. I think it is. Okay. If not, my apologies. But yeah, so this right here is actually a K6 test. Okay, cool. Thank you. It's like, it looks like it is. Should be. On a big screen, it will be. But yeah, so you would actually, this is a plain old K6 script. So in this case, it's going to execute this for every iteration. I'm generating in just a random integer to pass through as a Pokemon ID. And then it's just doing a simple post. It's including the trace ID and the test ID, which is the definition from Tracetest, which, you know, this will make more sense. But this is all the K6 test is doing, is it's just going to do this post. And then we can do it where it's like, say, okay, yeah, run as many as you can for 30 seconds. You know, I have actually we have a sleep in here just so that we don't go crazy with it. Because I could say, you know, oh yeah, simulate 1,000 virtual users and then say that they're going, you know, hitting that as fast as they can, you know, for 30 seconds. And you can, in Docker, it's not gonna be pretty, but yeah, but you can do that. But yeah, so this will generate that load, and you know, it'll have the links to Tracetest.
So what is the trace ID there?
That's this here, this test ID or the trace ID?
Trace ID.
Okay, the trace ID is going to be the generated actual trace ID for the spans and all that. That's going to be the normal, what do you call it? The what is it? Big Blue Bird or something like that. It's B3B or something,
Oh, yeah.
or B3, or you can do the OpenTelemetry. Yeah, B3C. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but in this case, you have like a constant, right? Trace underscore ID. Does it get?
It's going to get generated by this guy here. They have a special thing that's going to actually generate an actual trace ID for the back end. In this case, it's going to be Jaeger. And then so K6 will be generating that ID, and it's going to pass it along on each request.
Yeah.
So it's going to create one and pass it along for each request.
So that will get replaced by the
Yeah.
whatever request that will be
Yeah.
invited.
Yeah, and then that way, then Tracetest can do all the linking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here I get this cheat sheet here. All right. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, so I already did this. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll see. Because like I said earlier, I was going through here trying to test everything out and making sure that the demo is gonna work, and then all of a sudden it's like the demo didn't work. It's like, what is going on? I had to roll back in versions. So here I've got, Tracetest 0.10.1. So this one was working. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'll run this, the Tracetest server install. Okay. This is why I can't pair program ever too, because somebody looking over my shoulder as I'm typing, I just lose all mental capacity. But yeah, so their installer tries to make it as simple as possible to run through this. So you can, you know, from here you can say, I just want to use local Docker Compose or Kubernetes. So we'll just go with the Docker Compose route. And then here, if we already have a tracing environment, we're just going to link to it. You can pick that one. But with this learning setup, they have the sample Pokemon app, and then they'll put in the local OTel collector and all that good stuff in a Docker Compose file. So all we have to do then is just take this, and then by magic, we'll have a Tracetest up and running.
So it generates the Docker Compose.
Yeah, they made it really nice where it's super simple to just set up and then just get started to play around with it. So that is very nice. Yeah, so if I go ahead and go to localhost 11.633, and oh man, okay, so I was wanting to have a totally fresh thing. I forgot I did run this before when I was checking again. But yeah, so this is the Tracetest user interface. Here's where you would go through it and say like, okay, I want to create a new test. Okay, and they have all these different options. So yeah, you can take a Postman collection. I haven't tried this actually, but you know, that's one thing that a lot of testers are using, and developers even too, are creating Postman collections. They have REST APIs, and then that way then they can have all that stuff set up. You can just pull this in, it'll bring them all in. So let me go ahead and do the next there. And they, with the demo setup, they have some options in this YAML that will bring in and pull in these directly for you. So this takes all the pain out of it. So here you would just, yeah, set up your whatever verb, your API points, you know, so here it's, again, demo API since it's all inside of Docker. Well, that, yeah, this is an example post value. And then here now, it'll actually run. So just by creating this. So this is creating the actual test definition, okay, the test spec. So now it's completed running, okay? And then I could go ahead and change any of this, and this is the actual response. So this actually was run against the system. This is the true response that came back. Now this is the fun part here, is that we click on the trace. So now this is actually gone and it's queried Jaeger in the background to get all the trace information so that it can show you the entire path that everything's gone through. Now you can have it in this UI here, or you can even use the kind of more traditional style where it's stacked like that. Well, so that is pretty sweet there. And then here, you know, again, it was a real call. It went through all the system and then it queried, you know, Jaeger to get all the trace information. So here you can actually go through and then view all the baggage, all the different annotations and all that are in each one of these sections. And it's kind of cool too, in that, you know, it's got the little color coding here to show what type of action it was. So here, this was a database call, and this was the actual, was a nice little insert there. So you can see all that and then see that it took 2 milliseconds for that call on the actual Postgres database. So this is like, you know, you're doing these real live calls, you're getting all that information coming back here. So now this just shows you what happened. So now we want to say, okay, let's put some assertions on there. So now here, I can go ahead and say add a test spec. And then now I can actually drill into any of these and say like, oh, I want to say, I think this is where I'm going to probably stammer. So yeah, let's get every one of these here, database calls. Okay. So we can select here, and then there's all these different, you know, attributes on there. Well, if I want to do it where, say I want to put something, all right, I'll do all the inserts. There's only the one in this one. But wait, let's make it PostgreSQL. Oh, let me try it. Let me go to a different one, actually.
It's not letting you select others?
Hmm?
It's not letting you select others?
No, well, I was looking at the import process, which has a little bit more extra functionality, and then it makes it a little bit, it'll make it a little bit more easy, I guess, to select. I just wanted to select, I didn't want to, the import process does a read, you know, as well as writes, and I want to do one where it's like, I just want to put an assertion on the writes. So let me go ahead and then let me pull that guy in then. So again, use their little helper here, okay? And then again, they had it pre-set up so that it has these variables. So it's gonna, you know, if we would keep running this test, it's gonna always sit there and import ID 52. You know, not exactly what you want, but you know, we'll go over how to get around that. So again, this is actually running the test trace now. So I guess really probably the more time is from querying the Jaeger database and then going through and collating all that information. So here now we see the import process. It's got quite a bit more activity. So this one makes it a little bit easier to kind of show, oh yeah, limit it. So it's like, oh yeah, so we only grab 2 of the actual activities here. So like, yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. So like, yeah, here it's doing a fetch, doing some queries, and then doing an insert. So let's see. Yeah, and then see, here's the async piece here. So that, yeah. Yeah, so the import process is taking that post data and then it's turning it into a message that it plops onto RabbitMQ. And then there's that, excuse me, the worker process that was listening to MQ and then picking up the message and actually doing the inserts. And it does a lookup because it'll say like, again, like I guess whatever number that Pokemon is, it'll pull in some of the information for it. So here, let's go back here again. So I'm going to do add a test spec and we can pull in here. So let's see. So if we look at these attributes, yeah, because here's where I was looking like, so this one here, let's see, current span. Okay, so this one's selected and this is all the information here. So it's very specific. So it's only the one span. Now, if I want to take this out, I can say, okay, I want to do anything that's database. Now there's 11 spans selected. So I've got all, I can make an assertion on all the database actions. So now if I want to say, okay, oh, even Redis is in here. I didn't realize they had Redis in that too. Thought it was just Postgres. So let's see. All right, so now the only bad thing is I don't remember what the attribute was. Oh, there we go. DB system, there we go. So now if I add db.system, and then we'll make it, instead of Redis, we'll do PostgreSQL. Okay. So now I only have these 3 spans selected. So now I can actually, let me do this one, because these are already pretty small numbers. So if I say, oh yeah, it's got to be less than 1 millisecond, then I guess I can. Why not?
Just flag it.
Right? Yeah. So here, so I can say the span duration, okay, is less than, and then we'll go ahead and we'll say 1 millisecond, okay, and then.
So Tracetest has added additional span attributes.
Yes, yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it'll give some extra information there that yeah.
How does it do that? So does it have its own instrumentation?
There is, excuse me, man. Let me find this here. So yeah, so if you recall from this here, there's the response and trace. So this is querying the data, and then I think this is probably the spot where it must be updating this measurement data. So yeah, to add the spans.
So it's got some post-processing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then after it does all that, after it collects all that, the trace data, that's when it starts applying it against the assertions. It'll check the rules. Let's see. One that I always have too many damn windows open. So, okay. So we've got this now. So we're going to say that, yeah, anything less than a millisecond is going to be considered bad. So we can save that test spec. And then we'll see that right here, it is actually failing. And I guess since, 1 second is, or 1 millisecond, there is not changes. So I didn't publish this yet. So let's go ahead and add it or edit it. see, less than or equal to, we'll make it 2, just to be nice. Okay, so now it should only show the 1 or 2 failures. Yeah. So now we can say that, okay, yeah, so this will fail on 2 of those. And then I can publish this, and then this will actually create it as a new version. So now if we come out here, we'll see that version 1, which was with 0 assertions, was all green. Now V2 we had with the less than or equal to 2 milliseconds, that has failures. So yeah, there's that. So and then again, we can change the data, run it, all that. So that's kind of the gist for that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, let me go ahead and show this part too. So with this here too, they have, besides the user interface, they also have the CLI that you can use. Now that, say if I wanted to run that, I could actually come here, get the test definition, and this is the actual YAML that you can pass through to the CLI to run it. So in this case, then I could take that and I can change the body. So I could do something with the script, you know, and just say, okay, yeah, always make the body a new number, and then I can start creating a load. And then this is where we would use this actually with K6 as well. So we could kind of like slam it, right?
So they don't have their own load testing.
No, it's more so it's not really intended for load testing initially. I mean, it can be. I don't know how much they're really pursuing that yet, you know, but with the K6 integration, yeah, you can actually do some stuff. So, and in that way, then you can see those the failures and all that. Now,
So that seems like a logical step, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now running under load. Yeah. Yep.
Are there other common assertions beyond like how long something takes that you might check? Because if it's just the time, then yeah, it makes sense that load.
Yeah. No, there's that, and then actually like oh shoot, you know what? I didn't put it in my notes to do it, so I don't know how well I'd be able to do it. But let's see, let me get in here. I know the one of the developers, he was doing it where, because we were kind of going through this scenario where, you know, we'll shut down the messaging. So let's see. Actually, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to take out this assertion. So this is going to make everything green again. So that means that this would not fail. I don't know a better spot to get that. Okay. All right. Anyway, so we're back to good there. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take, let me get into Docker here. So that there was that piece, there was that service that was actually consuming from the RabbitMQ queue. We're going to shut that down, and then we'll run a test again and see how that's affected.
So we'll now queue up in the RabbitMQ.
Yeah, so we're going to stop that guy. So here, so demo worker. So I'm going to go ahead and pause that. And now we can go ahead and go to this test, and then we can run this test again. Now this time, when the trace comes up, we shouldn't see it go beyond the queues, right? So now this is still a success though, because we don't have any assertions to say that, oh yeah, if that database update doesn't happen, then, you know, it's not good. So in this case, it's still okay. It just obviously didn't make it beyond. So now I'm going to start back up that service. Okay. So now we can run this test again. And if we look, there we go. So now it's got the additional back-end activity after the queue. All right, so now we can actually say, now I don't remember what how we did it exactly. So this is where I'm going to fall back on that again. I don't work for this project. But yeah, so what we can do though is we can say, all right, as long as it maybe makes this, yeah, shoot.
If it's greater than 1 millisecond or something.
Right, yeah. Basically, I just want to say that, yeah, this actual item gets just even called at all. So like, yeah, so I guess this one's the main one. So let's see. So yeah, we got contains, all that. Basically, yeah. Yeah, we'll just say greater than 0. Why not? And I guess that should be all right. Oops. All right. Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully that works, right? So we've got the that on there, and in this case, it was successful because it actually got picked up. Okay, so now I'm going to publish that. So now that's the live test. Okay. So again, we're still all green. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kill that worker. Okay. And let's run the test. And this time it should fail because that assertion's never going to get hit, or that it's never going to happen. Because again, it's nothing picks it up from the queue. Yeah, there we go. So the spec failed. So yeah, so if we come back out here, then we know that that guy actually failed. Well, that's kind of, wonder why it's still querying there. But here it knows it failed. So yeah, well, I'm going to run with that as being a success there for that piece.
What's in the test outputs?
So with the test outputs, you can actually chain things, and that, yeah, I don't know how to do that just yet. I've never messed with that, but yeah, you can take things and chain them. You know, another one of the deals that you can do with this too is that instead of doing just a single API call like I was doing here, you can actually do a realistic flow, like a whole, you know, shopping cart going through all the different, you know, multiple calls. Maybe, you know, it's going to, I don't know, check, doing inventory or whatever, you know, basically to mimic what a user would be doing, you know, multiple clicks to go through. So
I have kind of a tangential question.
Uh-huh.
So if you have your test spec and it's failing there, is there any way, can you like notify, like, can you emit metrics on that, or like, can you notify like PagerDuty or?
Right. Yeah, and that's where I don't know if they have any of the alerting just yet. They are still pretty new. I'm sure that's probably something that they will add in there. But again, though, this is more so front end developer while you're developing. It's not so much we're in production, this is monitoring. You know, that's where you're going to leave it probably to something like you know, Grafana has Alert Manager, and anybody else probably has a lot of the other ones too that'll go and ping PagerDuty or whatever, but this is more development.
Totally, I could see this being useful for like an integration environment.
Yeah.
Right? So like you have CI/CD that goes to your integration environment,
And that's,
you run an automated test, and
yes.
you want to see if that fails.
Yep.
Not have to look at it.
exactly. Because then that way, then you can use the CLI. You can put those the specs that you've created, and then trigger those in a CI/CD pipeline. And then if it fails, then no go.
Yeah,
you know.
revert the change or do
Yep.
something, so.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, it's more though, on the shift left thing. It's more for developers to kind of use up front while they're designing and all that. But yeah, let's see here. So yeah, so the downstream failures, we got through that, and all this stuff too. I do like put all the presentation notes and all that stuff into a GitHub repo for the St. Louis Go meetup. I have links to it all over the place actually, and then but yeah, so I'll have the slides and all that stuff up there too, and then not to mention the video links. But yeah, so now, yeah, we'll actually go into the K6 piece of it, because that's kind of the general spiel for Tracetest. You're going to use probably the UI to do your designing. To, like I said, shoot off some like a tracer round request that's going to go and see all the activity, your full trace of going through your system. And then from that, you'll create your assertions in the UI, and then you'll export the spec. And then the spec can be, committed to, it is versioned in Tracetest too, but then you can take that spec and actually like commit it to, GitHub or whatever. And then that way, then you can have kind of proper Git flow on that stuff and bring it into your CI/CD pipeline. But yeah, so now with the K6 piece, I'm not going to actually do the Docker build, but what it is with K6, we have this extension system. So K6 is written in Go, and then you can do all these other these extensions. You can add protocols. You can add for specific systems where you'll bring that code in with Go and then compile it into a new binary. And what that does is that gives you the ability to actually use things like, the Kubernetes client, kubectl, directly in JavaScript in your load tests, So you could be in a load test, you could have somebody writing this stuff in JavaScript and say, okay, yeah, create a namespace, go ahead and load a config map, do all this kind of stuff like that. You can even do a, deployment if you want. I mean, that's until we have one that wraps Helm or something, but yeah, you could take the YAMLs and then apply them directly. So with these extensions, you can do all kinds of things like that. And that's where it's like we have,
K6?
yeah, with K6, yeah, with the extensions. So one of the things that one of our developers had done was he incorporated distributed tracing. And what that made it possible to do is that if we look back here at, where's that? This JavaScript file. So notice they have the HTTP client here. Well, Tracetest they extended that, they extended the code for that, the distributed tracing extension. And what that does though is that is the one that generates your trace IDs, and then we'll take it and add those request headers to every single request that goes out. So, but anyway, so that's all Go code, but that you're calling from JavaScript. So it's kind of weird. It's K6 uses this project called Goja, which is it's a pure Go JavaScript interpreter or engine, whatever you want to call it.
I heard of this actually like yesterday. I was trying to.
Oh, Goja, yeah,
I was
yeah.
trying to do something to get TypeScript into Go's code.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh no. Sorry. Yeah, but yeah. No, it's pretty wild though. So yeah, it's so that way then, I mean, because you could write a JavaScript library, have it used by these this JavaScript, but it's not going to be as probably performant as if it's written in Go and then run that way.
So you have written this is K6 test script
Mm-hmm.
that is written in JavaScript running inside Go.
Yeah. So this JavaScript will be run by a Go application that knows that, oh, okay, yeah, it understands all the, I shouldn't say all, it understands some of the basic ECMAScript. It's not going to be the full gamut of JavaScript, unfortunately. It's way too much. And now we've actually gotten just recently here await and async from JavaScript. So it's gotten a little bit more powerful now too. But yeah, so we had this project, and then K6 took, or I'm sorry, Tracetest took that project, and then they expanded on it. So now they had the distributed tracing. Well, now they had the hooks for the test IDs. So that test ID is actually from the UI. It's this guy here. It's the specification identifier. And then that's what's going to tell it when we make an HTTP request, it's going to be associated with this spec. So then that way, then that's going to come through, and it's going to know to be able to match up and then apply those assertions from that spec to whatever this HTTP request was that K6 generated. Yeah, so but yeah, so anyway, to bring all that in, you have to build K6 custom because that's not in the core product. So there's probably like 70 different extensions roughly from the community. Some are from Grafana and maintained by us. Others are just really from the community. You know, things as varied as like MQTT. You can do, you know, so IoT devices, you can sit there and then send messages to directly from these JavaScripts, you know, Kubernetes, you know, use kubectl directly inside of there. We have, you know, XK6 Disruptor is what it's called. It's our chaos engineering tool. So that way then you can, from your load test, you can say, okay, I want to ramp up and say like, I want to maintain 70 requests per second on this, you know, and then I want to kill a pod, you know, or you can do things like inject a sidecar into a, you know, one of your containers or one of your pods rather, and then that's going to just, you know, eat up the CPU for that, so that Kubernetes will just go and kill that pod. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. So there's all kinds of fun things that you can do with these things. So
the script is written in JavaScript, runs on Go runtime in this K6, and then that could in turn call kubectl to.
Yeah,
It probably uses like the Kube client, right?
it is. It's the Go client for Kube or for Kubernetes. Yep. Yeah. Just binds in the dependency for that, and then it provides the API points for the JavaScript to run. But yeah, there's even like for databases too. So you can use XK6 SQL. So if you wanted to do database inserts or reads directly from a JavaScript test case, you can. You know, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, you can do almost anything. Should you? Well, that's another thing. You know, what is it? I heard somebody say something like a foot gun.
Yeah.
You can create a foot gun. You know.
Mad science.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so it's really cool. But yeah, so all that kind of roundabout way to go through to say that yeah, I'm not going to actually run the build because that could take a few minutes. But we do have it where it's like a Dockerized, so you don't even need Go installed on your system to be able to run and build a new K6. And so I do have this already built locally. So I can do a K6 from the current one, and then just do a version and see that this Cube Shop XK6 Tracetest is installed in there. And this JS means that there's some functionality that provides you can use from JavaScript. So you can actually call objects directly from the JavaScript. And then the output means that there's special output from K6. So, you know, as K6 is running, it's creating, you know, for lack of a better term, shit tons of metrics, you know, as it's doing all these things. I mean, you can imagine, you know, you can have, I think we've found that like up to like 40,000 virtual users on a single machine, you know, on one single instance of K6 running, you know, so you can go crazy with it. And then that's all generating all kinds of metrics for every single call. So, you know, and it's aggregating that so that it gives you an end of run summary. Well, a lot of things now, like now we have an output that goes to Prometheus. So that way then we can sit there and in real time, as the test is running, we're outputting metrics about the test itself into Prometheus. So you can have a dashboard there and see that, oh, okay, now we're at 40 virtual users, and because you can do things like change the amounts. So you can like create spikes in your script, things like that. Try to make realistic behaviors in that. But yeah, so yeah, sorry, that was a really long roundabout way to go through all that. Sorry, but yeah, so here I'm going to go ahead and now I've got this in there, okay, and then I've got this the JavaScript here, okay. So this is a K6 test, and then what we're doing is we're simulating only one single user. They're going to run for 6 seconds, and it's going to do as many requests as it can. And now I have the sleep in here. So basically it's going to run 6 times because it's going to be, 1 per second. Because again, I'm not trying to break the system, but it's going to link to this trace ID. So if we look, and here I was almost going to make the big mistake that I made the first time when I got really confused. So these tests I created right now with the UI. Now these won't work exactly with K6. I have to create a new test. So we're going to go create a new test, and this time I'm going to say, okay, we're going to trigger these based on a trace ID. So this is kind of just the little different thing here. So yeah, so this is going to be, I'm just going to say K6 test import, okay, and then do next, and then this is the variable name, and this is where I'm going to give it the trace ID. Okay, so that's the variable name that I'm going to be specifying or populating with the variable. So here I can just say, okay, yeah, do 70. Actually, I think that's just going to be kind of bogus here, but this will go through. Should go through and then give the full trace stack again, so we could actually create assertions. Maybe. Okay.
Oh, did you turn on the other?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
You have a very long latency.
Yeah. It's see, hopefully it wasn't too late for this particular test.
The reset, does that, or will that blow things up down there at the bottom left?
That'll just be for the left-hand side here.
Okay.
So yeah, so I could put different data there. That would reset that, if I'm not mistaken. So here, yeah. So that just resets that piece. All right, so this one's going to have to time out and die. But the thing that I needed here was this identifier. And I don't know if there's, maybe an easier, I don't know. That seems like the easiest way is to just get it out of the URL. But here it is too, the spec, the ID for the spec. So that needs to go into my script. So here, right there. So you even have the big note there. Be sure to check this. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you'll be confused and saying, well, I don't work there, so I don't know. But yeah, so there we go. So that should be good there. Let's see if this thing died yet. No. Okay, well, we won't worry about, oh, there we go. All right, let's try that again. So if I should be able to, why is this not? Oh, just save and run, 70, okay, whatever. And then Ken Hamrick, he's the CEO. I was trying to get him to come up here to actually present for us. He's based out of Tennessee, Memphis area, I believe. But yeah, he wasn't able to make it, so that's why, again, I'm going ahead and doing it. All right, so something else is going on there. I'm not really sure what, but no matter, because we've got this here. So we've got the test ID. That's what we really needed in this case. So this is a standard K6, and I know, I'm sorry, probably for most of you, you don't know what that is, but hopefully getting a gist of it. But yeah, so now what I can go ahead now and do is run this script. All right. So again, I'm telling K6 to run. I'm telling it with this, this is a O for output, that I'm going to output using the XK6 Tracetest extension. And then this is just the path to the script. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and do something here. I'm going to just say iterations 1. So what that's going to do is that's going to override the script. You know, it's going to be like just with the hierarchy, it's going to be like, I don't care what you said, I'm just going to run 1, just as kind of a trace here. See, so I passed in now a variable is 87 there. And now if we come out here, we should see that, yeah, there it was. So this is the one that just ran from K6. So this is the actual trace ID that got generated by that HTTP client in the script. Okay, and then so if we look here, we should be able to see that I think it was 87, right? Yeah, there we go. That was in the posted body. So here again, we see the full activity. It's the exact same path that like those other ones that we created in the UI are. So again, we could sit there and then create the assertions on each of those. And then now, you can go ahead and do this again. And I'm going to take out this because now I remembered why I was going to skip that piece because, oh shit, there we go. It's like, where'd it go? All right. So in this case, I'm just doing that 6-second test. So K6 is going to do that. Now you'll see that K6 now finished. Now what's going on is that the extension code is actually waiting for the responses. It's waiting to collect that data from the remote, the Tracetest server, so that it can then provide a summary output. Because in my script, I was saying, give me this output for the results. We can go here to the UI and should see that, yeah, here's all that activity. So yeah, here's still, it's awaiting traces from the Jaeger backend. So this is one where, yeah, under a huge load, it might not be the best thing. Might have to disconnect and not wait for the responses anyway. The summary, you can trigger them, but I don't think it's going to work for getting the summary.
It's going to take some time, right, for the traces to be first ingested.
Well, that's the thing too, is that, yeah, so you have a lot of possible latencies there because, yeah, by the time all the collectors are going there and storing them and then that they're available then to query by the Tracetest server, all that. So yeah, there's a lot of work going on. So, you know.
Actually, the trace doesn't completely make it, right? Is this sort of...
That I have seen that where some of the traces are partial, that, yeah, there's missing spans.
Yeah, so how does this spec reconcile? Do you know?
I'm not sure. And that, yeah, it's still early days on the project. I don't know. Yeah. And I know that we talked about it and we said that there were some issues with missing spans on occasion. And I mean, I'll kind of equate that a little bit too with me running this on Docker and just kind of, I don't know if it's better, when it's running on Kubernetes, obviously in a real environment on real hardware, it's going to be a bit better, but yeah, I don't know. But in the play test, it's, works.
I have another question about, you said that it had a lot of different traces and backends that it supported, like anything with the hotel. Yeah. So does it support like the, because like GCP has like a tracing equivalent, I can't remember the name of it, it's like cloud monitoring or something like that, where you can, push trace data into GCP Is there like connectors for that, or would you have
Oh,
to use
let's see it.
code to-
Yeah, because they do have this. I know Ken said that this was recently added. So here they have the settings here. So these are different backends. So yeah, so Jaeger, the obvious ones, Tempo, and just plain old OpenTelemetry. Yeah, New Relic, Lightstep, and which was the one that?
It's like AWS X-Ray, but it's a GCP.
Okay, yeah, so maybe not yet, but I'm sure they're probably going to be picking up on that. Because that's one things they want to be able to, work with any of those hotel backends.
Gotcha. Cool.
So, but yeah, and I guess really I think that's kind of all I've got. I mean, like I said, I'm not super familiar with it. Yeah, and then I was going to get into this. So I pulled down the full OpenTelemetry shop. And so I was going to be able to do a, yeah. So, because I thought, the Pokemon and, but
It's not a coffee break.
no, it's,
This is not a coffee break.
yeah. So I was going to try creating some tests for that, where it's going through like with the carts and all that stuff. But I did not get around to that, unfortunately. Yeah. See here, the teardown timed out. So I guess K6 timed it out while it was waiting for all this stuff. But yeah, these specs had failed here. 6 total runs, 2 were successful, 4 failed. And I don't know if that was just because it couldn't get the information back or yeah.
But it highlights why you need load testing, or else you'd be like, hey, this always works. And then like,
Right.
oh, it's 6 people. That's
Yeah.
we did 3 and we can't handle it, so we should do something else.
Which does, it brings up a funny story from a past life where I was doing this. What was it for? It was, I want to say it was like for a voice system or something, and then I was making these calls, and then the guy was somebody that was over the API on the other end. He like gets a hold of me. He's like, "For the love of God, stop! You're killing the system." And I'm like, dude, I did 10 requests. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, wow, I didn't think I was doing a load test. Apparently I was. But it was pretty well. But yeah, that was what was that? Oh, yeah, I'll not talk about that too much, but it was not a good system.
How old is Tracetest? Is this like a new project?
Yeah, I want to say that they're only been around for maybe a year. Yeah. Right around there. I mean, they're still, definitely give them some love. Let's see, what was it, GitHub stars? Let's see. History, that's it. There it is. And then there, I think I gotta do the full thing.
The demo and-
It's on their website, main menu.
They give them a star.
This is let's see, QZ Tracetest. Here we go. Then we can view the star history.
Oh, wow.
So February 22
That's crazy.
when they started.
Up and to the right.
So no, it is a very cool project. I love the idea on it, and then good group of people that are working on it as well. They are in the CNCF landscape. I mean, they're not a CNCF project, but they are in the landscape. That's the same with K6 and Grafana, actually. I mean, it's, no, definitely check it out. It's cool stuff. Let's see. I don't think I had anything else that I was going to show on this.
So
That's
it's
pretty much
the Poke shop, right?
Yeah.
You said they're based in Memphis?
Well, that's where the CEO is. There's one of the developers that I was speaking with. I mean, they're all over the place, but one of the main developers that was working on the XK6 Tracetest integration with me was he's in Mexico. So, but yeah, so they're all around. Let me see. Let me get back to the slides here because I don't think. Oh yeah, let me. All right, let me go ahead and go back to this. See, so yeah, so here they had again, their big thing is the observability driven development, ODD, not odd, it's ODD. So but yeah, so that's what they're kind of pushing. So that way then, through that graphical, interface, you can then create those tests and kind of get feedback as the development's going on with the full integration with all the different apps. And then, yeah, here's some of their information here too. So, they've got a Discord up and running. So if you want to communicate with them, the GitHub there. I'm sure they're, if anybody wants to, crack open the issue, feel free. Let's see, that was it for that. All right, let me switch back over here. So put on my host hat. So, all right, thanks, Paul. That's great. Yeah. All right. So wrapping up, giveaways. So yes, we do have some giveaways. I did, like I said, I got a hold of Ken, and since he wasn't able to actually attend, we've got some Tracetest stickers and also T-shirts. So, like the one I've got on here now. So yeah, we've got plenty in assorted sizes here. Now, so yeah, I kind of informed Ken when he placed the order because they use the same company to get like the T-shirts and stuff that we use at K6. And I'm like, oh man, some of those, they're the European, so it's like, I don't know, in European sizes, I'm a 2X. In US sizes, it's just a 1X. So he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I better, do the upper size one. So anyway, so these are US sized. So we've got some bigger ones and that. So yeah. So anyway, so everybody can have a shirt. Again, thanks to Ken on that one. Sorry for the folks online can't get one, but I'll have extras. So when I come to Columbia, I can hook folks up. So and then yeah, so the next talk will be on the normal schedule. It will be April 18th, and then it's probably going to be me. And then this time, though, it's going to be a preparation talk for my talk in Vancouver that I'm going to be doing. It's going to be using Kepton.